Welcome to Unlock the Future with AI, brought to you by AKILI AI. My name is Justin and I'll be your host for today's episode. And before we begin, I want us to watch something special about today's guest.
Simon Bransfield Garth is a technologist and entrepreneur with a PhD in engineering from Cambridge University, where he studied artificial intelligence in its early years. He went on to found Azuri Technologies, which has delivered solar power to over 250,000 homes in Kenya, Zambia, and Nigeria. Now, Simon is focused on a new frontier, using AI for good across the African continent. And now, back to the episode.
So as you know, Simon, Unlock the Future with AI is all about artificial intelligence. So in your own words, how would you describe artificial intelligence? Is it a program or is it something that creates itself? What is artificial intelligence?
So Justin, thank you very much for inviting me on the podcast. It's a real pleasure to be here. So AI is an exciting technology. And some people think of it as computer software. It's computers that do things. But what we discovered about computers is the things that humans find really difficult, computers find easy. So for instance, if you wanted to multiply 2,000 numbers, a computer can do that dead easy, but you find that really, really hard. But on the other hand, if you wanted to stack up 3 bricks on a table of different sizes, a 2-year-old could do that no problem, but a computer finds that really hard. So AI, or artificial intelligence, is making computers behave more like humans and being able to tackle the sorts of problems that humans find easy and computers traditionally find difficult.
Wow, that's very interesting. So it means AI may be written in software, but how it functions and operates is just purely based on how it's trained, rather than what we ask AI to do.
Yes, absolutely. So that's the really big difference between conventional software and AI. So conventional software, you tell it exactly what you want it to do, and you have to tell it precisely what you want it to do. And when the world looks like that, the software works really well. The problem is that let's imagine that you were looking at a Twitter stream, an X stream, and you wanted to understand the sentiment of the tweets. You know, were people happy? Were they angry? Were they engaged? Whatever. It's really, really difficult to write software to go do that. But AI can be trained on this is what a happy tweet looks like. This is what an angry tweet looks like. And so over a lot of training, it's able to capture the essence of what an angry tweet or a happy tweet looks like and be able to do that classification, even though no human would be able to write down a list of sort of prescriptive instructions that tell you how you would go do it.
So will I be right in saying that artificial intelligence has been around for the longest time? For example, the great Alan Turing, who was working on AI even as early as 70 years ago. What is the difference between AI today and AI back then?
No, you're absolutely right. AI has been around since, more or less the end of the Second World War. And really a couple of things have happened. So we had a big wave of AI in the 1980s, and that's when I started doing my original work on AI. And then it kind of went quiet, and then it's exploded again in the last few years. So there's really 2 things that have happened. The first one is AI requires a huge amount of computing, and just the amount of computing power that's available has just grown and grown and grown. But the second one is there's been a different philosophy about the way that AI works. So traditional AI use what people called knowledge-based systems. And where they wanted to go and do learning systems, they would do what's called predictive AI, which you're probably very familiar with. You basically have a huge amount of data. Let's say you've got all of your M-Pesa payments, right? And you have an AI go and look at thousands of people's M-Pesa payments and tries to extract from those M-Pesa payments whether you're likely to be able to repay your loan or not. That's a typical sort of AI project called predictive AI. And these are big, complex projects. These are multi-million-dollar projects. Typically, you've got a whole team of engineers working on it, and they take a long time to do. So, they're very powerful, but they're not really very accessible to ordinary people. What happened in the late 2022 was the emergence of these things called large language models, or generative AI. And people will have seen that in tools like ChatGPT. And what these generative AI has done is they've taken an AI and they've trained it on language. I mean, essentially all of the internet. And so what that means is that you no longer have to train the AI. The AI comes ready trained, and it can go do useful things. That's the revolution that's happening, that now anybody can adopt AI and use it without having to have a PhD in data science.
So is it the fact that you do not need to train AI? Is that what's getting everyone excited?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing that's really getting people excited. I think when you look at conventional AI, you have to spend an awful lot of time getting the data right, getting rid of any bias, getting rid of other issues like that, and that's a pretty mammoth task. And particularly for organizations like banks, many of them have grown organically. And so they'll have their data in many, many different systems, in many, many different formats. And trying to unify that into something that an AI can look at is quite difficult. Generative AI goes the other way around, where we say, leave your data well alone and have the AI be smart enough to understand what your data says. So it doesn't matter which format your date is in. Is it month first, day later, or day first, month later? Is it using Roman numerals? Whatever it happens to be, the AI can figure that out. And so what you're trying to do is to bend the technology to meet the information that you've got, rather than having to bend the information you've got to serve the needs of the technology. And that's really game changing in the AI space.
Wow, that's amazing. Recently, Kenya published an AI strategy. In that regard, what do you think the future holds for Kenya as far as artificial intelligence is concerned?
Yeah, well, I think AI is potentially very important for the entire African continent. We get these sort of leapfrog technologies that come along. So we've had the internet, we've had mobile phones, we've had solar energy, and so on. But we still have challenges throughout the continent with things like education, with healthcare, with access to finance, and so on. And many of those are limited by the availability of skilled people who can do particular tasks. You look at rural clinics, right? They don't have large numbers of doctors. So AI has the potential of being able to augment the people who are already there and enable those people to operate at a level which is beyond their normal training. So imagine that you've got a call center, you've got a call center agent. That poor call center agent is supposed to know everything about every product that the bank has got. That's a really challenging task for a call center agent. So what we can do is to give that call center agent a kind of a buddy, if you like, an AI buddy, where the AI buddy has access to all of the bank's product information, has access to all of the governance and compliance information, and then can just ask a question in normal language and gets an answer back in normal language. And then they can interpret that answer back to the customer. So now that call center agent has been supercharged in terms of what they can do because they've got access to this information, but they don't need to learn about the information specifically. The AI is able to gather that information and provide it back in a format that is really helpful to the agent and to the end customer.
Well, Simon, thanks so much for being part of this episode. We want to appreciate you for the insight and the information that you've shared with us today. We hope that you'll create time to come and talk more about AI and unlocking the future with it.
I really look forward to that, and I think AI is going to be transformative to the economy over the next 5 years, and it's a really exciting journey. So thank you for inviting me along.
To our viewers, that's all the time we had today. I hope you've learned a thing or two through today's episode. We want to encourage you to like this episode, share it with your friends, loved ones, even colleagues at work, because as we continue delving into this subject, I believe you're going to be more enlightened about what artificial intelligence is all about. And until next week's episode, keep it locked and see you then.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who are passionate about the future of business and technology in Africa. See you next time.